texted you then because I would have just gone in and set one up too.
I think you'd see it if we don't need to test that.
If I knew to look,
Yeah.
or if I thought to look.
Yeah.
As more, I should know to look, but will I think to look is the question.
This is a lesson.
Bad audio right there. I just me slapping a fruit fly as I.
Usually at a podcast, this means like action, and that actually
that's a
for
bad
us means
that's a bad sign.
Trying to kill a fly.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go. I'm just going to tell everyone we're going live, and we will go live. All right. Hail cheaters, welcome to the Always Cheating Podcast. It is our game week 33 preview. So what does that give us? 6 weeks left in the season.
Yeah.
I am Josh Landon. I'm here with Brandon K. Brandon, how are you?
Good. Yeah. Last 5 letters there redacted for my own safety. I'm good.
Yeah.
I think
I was thinking Joseph K. Like oh my gosh.
Like Joseph Campbell with a K?
No, Joseph K. Like
the cool one.
No, it's who's the Kafka? It's the trial. I think Joseph K. is the lead character.
Okay, you're flexing on me here with.
I didn't mean
Kafka.
to. Yeah. It's a pretty famous book. Of course, I couldn't think of the name of it for a second. So yeah.
Well, Kafka is a pretty good, I think, vibe for FPL right now. I like to say that I'm always good at the start of the podcast because, we're real people. We have real lives, and FPL is just like a stunt that we're all performing.
On it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I will say, Josh, it feels like we're just kind of coasting to the finish line here. The Isak triple captaincy, which we're both on.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it to be a rocket ship, but I expected there to be some movement.
Well, it was a tricky one because you get the this is why you captain people in doubles, right? Because and also if you had not had a double, you would have just captained Mo Salah most likely, right? He's on, was it 5 or 6 points? Was he still on when they lost the clean sheet? I actually think he was sub, so he's probably at 6 points. Yeah. So, it's a 1 point difference, and then you have one more home match to go, right? So I think it's one of those triple captaincies where it's like if you triple captain him and you get the 5 so far, you're like, okay, that's fine. And if you didn't triple captain him, you see the 5 points, you're like, that's good.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's a that's a win for me. So we've come out a little behind, but again, you get two bites of the apple or whatever, right? And so there's two chances to see if it comes good. And I think we kind of narrowed it down on both the main feed pod and the Patreon one that it wasn't like there was some outside of the missed opportunity to captain Salah in game week 26 or whatever it was, right? The great what could have been, right? Triple captaincy.
Sure.
But outside of that, there wasn't necessarily one looming ahead. Look at everybody else's performance across the board this week, right? It's like I don't even know who the best it's a crazy mix of even the Newcastle. Newcastle scored 4 goals, and it was like Harvey Barnes, who wasn't even necessarily gonna. He probably was gonna start because I think how it sort of came out and
Gordon was just coming back from injury.
Yeah, and he was like, he might be able to make the bench, right? And so you wouldn't feel comfortable bringing in Harvey Barnes because he's not necessarily going to start twice, right, across the doubles. Wolves scored 4, but those were all spread out among different people. Arsenal just we'll talk more about them in a minute because they double in 33, but just kind of up and down. Even Man City, 5 goals, but I don't know if anybody scored. Yeah, 5 goals from 5 different people. Only KDB got 2 returns in that match as well. Another Ederson assist though. I think is that his now 3rd assist on the season.
He tied. I think he tied or exceeded a record earlier in the season. Now he's just going bananas with the assists.
And that's with him getting benched like half the season, which is crazy.
It was.
He has 4. He has 4 assists on the season.
It was a really nice take for McAtee, and for people who own the wingers who you think are going to start at Man City, like Savinho. It was really fun watching McAtee just really put that away. I think
Weird one.
The chip play is one thing. On our Discord, Football Genius made a note that I thought really resonated with me of kind of how I'm feeling at this point of the season. This kind of feels like the theme in recent weeks. He says, dodging threats like Palmer and Mateta is great and all, but would love for my actual squad to score some points.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like week to week. like as you say, there are no threats coming from everybody else, but then there are no threats coming from our teams
Yeah.
either, which is
But
really kind
but
of
here is
slowing it all down.
but on the bright side, right?
Yeah.
Look at me being the when you're down, I gotta go up, right? When
Yeah.
I'm up, you're vice or whatever. When I'm down, you got to go up. I still have Semenya tomorrow. Do you have anyone in the Bournemouth Fulham match?
No.
Okay. Well, I've got one player tomorrow, and then both of us have 6 players on Wednesday, right? So we effectively
Yeah.
have like 2/3 of a team still to play fantasy wise. So
Certainly.
yeah, I am on basically like I'm neutral this week. FPL game week put me at -1 on my like target like to stay even, right? So
Mhm.
so basically I'm like a little behind where I would maybe want to be.
Mhm.
I would say the frustration for me this week was defensively. I thought it was, and I guess for everybody, right? I actually thought I had a pretty good look in defense going into this weekend, and yeah,
Who you got?
well, I had Nico Williams, right, who looked like he was going to keep the clean sheet until the 93rd minute or
Yeah.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
Saliba, who lost his clean sheet late. Pope, I mean, I don't know. I guess like Man United are always capable of scoring, but it was kind of like a goal out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
The Garnacho,
Yeah.
and then Munoz, which okay, sure. I mean, like, kind of expected a blank there, but maybe not 0 points from him, right?
They got totally
Yeah,
vaporized in the second half, and
yeah,
I think it's very interesting fantasy wise because now we're all tripled up on Crystal Palace of how much of that match was Man City versus Crystal Palace, who looked like very much in control in the first half. So I guess
yeah.
we could dig a little bit more into that in a little
Yeah.
bit.
So I would say, yeah, I mean, just like to kind of start talking about 32 and some takeaways. I mean, yeah, it was like a little bit of a mixed bag. There were some good things, right? Eze scores, Sarr gets an assist. But yeah, all the defenders blank. Mateta taken off at halftime of the match. So, but it looks like I don't see an injury designation. So I think he was just
The
pulled. I don't know.
suspicion was it was tactical.
Right.
Mateta looked so cool on the sidelines. He's got this mustache going now, and
I
he was
don't think
sitting there in his
saw that.
warm-up jacket and
Yeah.
without his like headgear on and his mustache, and
Okay. I got to
he
look for
looked like
this.
about as cool as one could possibly
Okay.
look.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm
like
still
him. Yeah.
1 point, but I'm still very pro Mateta right now.
Yeah, me too. Like whatever, right? We didn't expect much from that game.
Mhm.
And yeah, and then getting the SR assist or the, as a goal if you had him, yeah, it's fine. And then with Newcastle, the other team that doubled this week, again, one match in, but a little more of a big mixed bag, I'd say. Isak assist, Murphy assist too, which is nice. Although maybe he could have, I don't know, whatever, right? Murphy assist, and then every defender blanked, right? No clean sheets, no attacking returns across the board. Just kind
Yeah.
of like a interesting match, just the way like you had 4 goals from all kind of different types of people. I mean, I guess some of like if you went like a little off the board with some of your moves for Newcastle, I guess you'd be looking like you'd be feeling okay right now, right? Like Bruno Guimaraes, who
Mhm.
was like talked about a little bit, right? He came through with
Mhm.
8 points. Um and yeah, Harvey Barnes, I would not have recommended him if you had him, that's great, but don't think he would have been anyone I would have recommended. And then Joe Linton came away with an assist, so not nothing, I guess.
Yeah, I thought Livramento looked incredible against Manchester United. No returns, which would be frustrating because I know a lot of people went Livramento for the defensive coverage on their wild card.
Right.
And yeah, I think there's just like so many good things to say about Newcastle. The question I have about them really is going forward. If you look at their fixtures coming up, let's see, they've got
A good
Villa,
34, right?
Ipswich at home is great, and then the rest are just they're very tricky. I guess Chelsea
Yep.
you would also point to and say on recent form, Chelsea don't know what they're doing and are very leaky defensively.
Right.
Um, but having triple Newcastle does feel kind of forced. So this is what I'm thinking about
Yeah.
for game week 34 is Newcastle no longer have the appeal of the double. So at what point do we start I guess
Yeah.
ahead of the Villa match in 33. Is at what point do we start shedding Newcastle
Yeah.
assets?
I mean, I think yeah, attacking wise, you're fine, right? I think Isak might actually be better off in a match like this where they're not just sort of at home and kind of dominating the
Yeah.
match. He might get a little more time in the ball. Ipswich obviously a good match there too. Ipswich is maybe less relevant if you're planning to free hit in 34, right? So like if you are free hitting in 34, then yeah, I mean, I think you could already look at dropping Newcastle players. I mean, I'm in a position now where I have been thinking about playing my bench boost for 33, but I'm not
Yeah.
like I'm not certain that it makes sense to do
Yeah.
it. Like, okay, let me like I'll share my team here so that you can take a look at it. I mean, it's like it almost feels like I'd just be doing it to do it,
Yeah.
and it's like like should I just wait? I'm sort of kind of leaning towards just waiting now. So my team's kind of a mess just because Gabriel with the injury, Foden, he was always like a bit of a placeholder, although obviously I wish I would have just had Saka now. I mean, if I'm gonna get nothing from these guys anyway, I might as well
Mhm.
I might as well just save myself a transfer. So my plan right now is to move Phil Foden and Gabriel. And the plan would be to move Foden to Saka, hope that we start getting some Saka starts, right?
Mhm.
Now that he's been treated very carefully, I would say, in the Premier League, right?
Mhm.
But I don't know that they need to just take off the bench the rest of the season, right? I feel like eventually
Mhm.
he's going to start getting minutes again. Um, Although there really is no reason for them to, in a
Yeah.
sense, so it's hard to say.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
sort of like, what do you prioritize if you're Arteta? You're already looking ahead to next season in the Premier League thinking with a
yeah,
fully fit squad and a couple of choice signings in the summer, we're winning this league.
yeah.
And beyond that, the only thing is the Champions League.
I feel like he's still probably worth the risk for
Mhm.
33, just because
Yeah.
there actually aren't a ton of amazing assets, weirdly, for a double game week, as we'll talk more about in a second.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'm probably leaning towards him, even if I don't keep him long term, right? I guess the hope is just I can get to something, I don't know, 120 minutes or something out of him for those two fixtures. And then Gabriel to Gvardiol would be the other move there that I
Mhm.
think makes sense. And so that would give me let's see. I think that would give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't know, something like 8. I think 8 double game week players for 33, which I think is probably fine considering I don't have a free hit to play. But then it's like, okay, so if I bench boost, it's like, I mean, I might as well just wait some other week to bench boost, right? It's like
Yeah.
I get the double, but I don't have two keepers that double, right? I just have Pope
Yeah.
and Martinez, so
I
it's like,
don't understand how the strategy was bench boost 33 because this is my strategy all the way, and I wild carded the same week as you did, and
yeah.
my bench boost looks awful. It looks
Yeah,
very similar
exactly.
to
I
yours.
just think it's hard to look 4 weeks ahead, really,
Yeah,
it's just like, yeah.
and the
Yeah.
the seasons past bench boost wild carding into a bench boost fully optimizing, you effectively would have like 14, 15 doublers,
Yeah.
and this is just like boom,
There's, like,
and
no way. Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
and there's something about, particularly like we both have Howson for Bournemouth. That's a Palace away match.
Yeah.
Like Bournemouth's
Like,
form
yeah.
felt like maybe a little bit more sturdy going into the wild card around game week
Yeah.
29 or 30, whenever that was. And
I
now Bournemouth are bad.
Yeah, I think you and I both ran into a little bit of injury trouble, which hurt,
Yeah.
right? Because otherwise, like I have 3 transfers going into this week, but I basically have to shore up injury problems, right?
Yeah.
With Gabriel and Foden. Foden was like a little bit of a gamble, right? I was like, well, maybe he can like find some form, and I will be able to use him in 33, right? And obviously that hasn't come to pass. I mean, obviously, like, yeah, was that a mistake? Sure, I don't know. I mean, it sort of depends, right? Like sometimes you can say the same about Bruno, right? It's like, yeah, Bruno can look really bad, or he can look amazing, depending on
Hmm.
the kind of run that he's on, or the the fixtures they have in front of them. And so, yeah, so it didn't work out, which is fine. But like that means I'm spending transfers just replacing my starting 11, right? Whereas
Yeah. Right.
if everybody
That's
was
right.
healthy, then I could use transfers to make my bench look even stronger.
Yeah.
And so as it is, it feels slightly pointless to bench boost with these 4 players. In fact, I'm almost certainly not going to, and just hold it for until maybe after the FA Cup. There is another double coming, right?
Mhm.
Because of the FA Cup semifinal fixtures, right? And so, but again, it doesn't really matter at that point because it won't be a huge double.
No.
So it's really just about whether you see a game week coming up where you like your bench, right? It looks
So this
good.
this is this
Yeah.
is the cynical FPL manager point of view of this is further proof that chasing double game weeks is typically can poison your strategy,
Yeah.
because what we should always be looking for first and foremost are good fixtures.
Yeah.
And the the double game week of it all kind of clouded the players coming in for this current double game week stretch. And we didn't really figure the fixtures into it. And as you say, there's another double that's coming up at the end of the season, and it's kind of like, well, what are those fixtures going to look like? And does the bench
Yeah.
boost is the bench boost even better? In my squad, I have 8 doublers currently with 2 free transfers to
Yeah, here I'll
play.
stop sharing. Let's see what you've got going on here.
Uh-huh.
Let's
Okay.
laugh. We've laughed. We've had a good laugh at old Josh Landon's team. Now let's have a chuckle at
Okay.
old Mr. Kelly's.
So if you want to check us out on YouTube, you can watch on screen with us. So this is my game week 33 squad. So I've got doublers across the back from Reg, Vardiol, Munoz, and Saliba. Problem guys. I mean, I would pinpoint. Well, Gabrielle is out, so Gabrielle is one of my 2 frees.
Mhm.
And then I'm looking at Alanga came off the bench this game
Mhm.
week, and I think
Should get back into starting.
Yeah, particularly if you look at the result from Forest. They lost to Everton. Maybe they lacked that certain joie de vivre that Elenga can give them in the attack, that burst of pace. And Spurs is a fantastic matchup for an attacker who has pace and nous the way Elanga does. So I kind of like
Yeah.
keeping him. But if I then target with my 2 frees single game weekers to get rid of to capitalize on this double, it would
Yeah.
be Murphy and Pope, probably. Gab Savino Savino like has been terrible since he scored the 9 pointer 2 or 3 game weeks ago because he doesn't play anymore. But then you think, but you'll certainly get one start out of him. And
Right.
is it worth, particularly if I play the bench boost, is it worth getting rid of Savino at this stage?
Probably
If I,
not.
yeah, I don't think so either. If I had like 5 frees, I'd probably look at moving him on to somebody else.
Yeah.
And I think I'm kind of interested in Morgan Rogers for some Villa coverage, and that guy just like he is the new Bukayo Saka. If he's
Sure.
alive, he starts.
Yep. Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
So I think he's
He
kind of
has a very
interesting.
long leash. It's
Yeah.
like he really gets a lot of run out.
And that alone would get me to a point where I'd feel somewhat justified bench boosting, because then I'd have 6 or I'd have 5 players across the middle of
Yeah.
my midfield that I would want to play. With Rogers, Savino, Sarr, Alanga, and Salah. You can quibble with any one of those guys, certainly. Um, but yeah, Pope and Murphy away Villa. Villa under the radar are also in incredible form, certainly in the league, as good as Newcastle are right now. That match feels like maybe it could be like a total shootout, and it's like 3-3.
Yeah. It's just hard to say before we know how the Champions League. I mean, obviously, we would expect them to lose in the Champions League at home to PSG, but it's not impossible, right?
Yeah.
They're only 2 goals back, and they're good at home, so it's hard to say.
So there's a version of this team where I do bench boost, and I'm moving Murphy to Rogers and Gabrielle to uh, another Arsenal defender.
Yeah.
Who's the guy now? Is it Quivior? Because the fullbacks are rotating heavily because of the Champions League commitments, and they're dealing with their own injuries.
I honestly wouldn't get another one. I think they might concede in both these matches.
You think so?
I don't know. I mean, it's just like I don't know what to make of this team. Like they have nothing to play for in the Premier League at this point.
Yeah.
They are. I mean, you see how good they are when they put it all together in the Champions League. It's very reminiscent of Man City in previous seasons. Like when Man City have been, 15 points up in the Premier League, and they kind of put all their eggs into the Champions League basket. And then every week they have these kind of indifferent, like 1-0 sort of, Premier League wins or 2-1. It's like their heart's not in it. And I feel like that's a little bit where we are right now with the
it
with
occurs to me
Arsenal.
that Liverpool do play Leicester City in game week
Mm-hmm.
33. And in the spirit of what I was saying a minute ago, maybe it is not about the doublers. It is about who has the best fixtures.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a good clean sheet shout and
Yeah.
possibly attacking returns.
Yeah.
Connor
What's
Bradley
the fun
is,
in that though? You know, you
well,
gotta get a doubler.
I listen. I think this is the question I'm trying to answer: is where is the fun? And
Yeah. Okay.
it's not
Yeah, I
under
like it. All
this
right,
rock.
Yeah, I like it. We're kind of going right into our 33, which I think is fine actually. It's a big double game week. So,
Yeah, I
um,
just quickly wanted to mention on
yeah.
goalkeepers because we shouldn't talk about goalkeepers at all for the rest of the podcast. But
Uh,
I was looking at Nick Pope and Villa. Nick Pope for my bench boost because Raya starts over him.
yeah.
What's the value there? Could I use a transfer there? Martinez is the obvious guy, but I feel like defensively those Villa fixtures are not great, and
Yep.
Villa's run for the rest of the season as well is not super appealing. Where they blank in 34, then it's Fulham, Bournemouth, Spurs, and Manchester United. I like that it's a transfer on a goalkeeper, and it's one for one who has kind of dicey fixtures and a team with a few different commitments. So I'm not really seeing the goalkeeper unless again it's Allison or somebody like that.
Mm-hmm. Ederson. I don't know. You know.
Well, Ederson came off injured
Right.
in that match, so
Right. That's right. I
Ortega.
forgot about that. Yeah. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Like, I guess that would be a possibility, right? It's he's probably going to be one of those like 75% injuries though, where you have
Yeah.
yeah, groin injury. I mean, he could be confirmed out. That wouldn't be impossible. And if so, Ortega would actually be a decent pick at 5.2 million.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
advantage of, then you could just stick him on your bench too. You wouldn't necessarily need to start him
Yeah.
down the stretch. Although they actually have a great run out to end the season.
Yeah.
Man City, they basically don't have a bad fixture. I mean, I suppose Fulham away in 38 is kind of tricky, but otherwise,
Yeah.
Everton Villa is a good double. Wolves at home, Southampton away, Bournemouth at home after the blank in 34. So yeah, it's a good
Mhm.
run out. All right, so why don't we just jump right into 34, Brad? And we can talk more about 33 maybe just as we go here. So let me pull up the fixtures that you and I can both kind of take a look at them as we're
Mhm.
chatting.
Let's
Yeah,
chat.
so what we have right now are we have four teams that double in game week 34 or 33, excuse me.
33, right.
Yeah, so Arsenal, Villa, Man City, and Palace, right? So this is what I've got 33 in front of you here, but people listening, so we have matches Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Right. So the double game week matches there's one on Tuesday, one on Wednesday. So very spread out double, I'd say five consecutive days of matches.
Mhm.
And so the teams that double though are Arsenal, Villa, Man City, and Crystal Palace. And Man City host Villa. That's one of the double game week matches. And then Arsenal host Palace. Um, both Arsenal and Villa, I think, are tough to evaluate though, because again, they both have really important Champions League matches at midweek. So I won't be locking in any of my transfers at least until Wednesday evening, right? Because I just
Same.
want to have a sense of what they're, how things are looking. I mean, if Villa lose their Champions League match, as seems likely, then you should feel a lot safer having Villa assets, right? Because their new plan will just be go all out
Yes.
for one of the Champions League spots. Been nice and simple. And
Yep.
with Forest, unfortunately, like free falling a little bit now. There's a real chance I think for Villa
Ooh,
to
free
grab one of those.
falling is a little strong, Josh, but
I said this last week as well, and you kind of big up them, but I don't know. I mean, you lose 1-0 at home in a pretty toothless match, and I think we can start to
okay.
start to worry a little bit.
Okay.
It's yeah. It's just two losses in a row. It's not bad, but it really brings everybody back into the pack is really the problem, right? So
Mhm.
now
They're
spots.
Rory McIlroying it a bit. Like
It was amazing.
I think that Forest still hold the Champions League spot, but yeah, they're making
Yeah,
it tricky.
they're making it very tricky, exactly. And I think, I mean, let's look at their what are the fixtures up ahead for Forest? So They are away to Spurs. It's actually a pretty good. It's a pretty good run out. Away to Spurs in 33, home to Brentford in 34, Palace 35, Leicester 36, West Ham 37, and Chelsea at home in 38. Now that Chelsea at home in 38 could end up being a genuine Champions League decider. Like we may not have a lot going on for game week 38 in terms of excitement, but that match could end up being crucial, which would actually be pretty cool. Like it'd be a cool way to end the season for those two squads who would be coming at a Champions League qualification from very different perspectives, I feel like. So I don't know. I think it's very much open. I will say fantasy wise, they have been a little frustrating. I mean, I think a lot of it just comes down to Chris Wood's injury and him being
He's back.
Sort of this. He is back, exactly. But he did blank. And it's sort of, but I think the offense really has run through him in a lot of ways. It's Olivier Giroud style, right? The sort of big man, that's man up front.
He's the New Zealand Giroud.
Scores a little more than Giroud, but it's the same.
Fewer 5-pointers coming from Wood. Wood's more of the 9-pointer.
Not as many starfish either. I don't think. No. But so I think that I think they're in a little bit of trouble. I think so I think we started here on a longa. So I mean, if you still had, I don't know. I think like you could even still look at bringing in Chris. Like it was just a tricky match because I actually ended up watching probably like the last 30 minutes or so of that. It was a weird week fantasy wise because it was one of those weeks where almost all of my squad was like in the beginning of the week or the end of the week.
Well, they all played in like one match. It was like the Palace City match, and then like half your team is done.
Exactly. And then there was nothing basically until the Newcastle match when you had 3 more people play. And so like kind of the only stakes I really had were Nico Williams clean sheet, right? So I ended up watching that match. And unfortunately, I thought that Everton were like pretty far and away the better team, at least in the second half of that match.
Moyes Renaissance is real. For real.
And I don't know what was going on in the back line. Like they were just, it was like mistake after mistake down the stretch for them. There was one the center back whose name is escaping me right now. Let me see if I can
on Forest.
On Forest.
Murillo
Murillo. Yeah, Murillo had a really tough match. He got away with probably 3 penalty fouls, and then finally he gave away the ball at the end, and they conceded. It was a real like, does this guy have money on the match? Like sort of.
Ooh, I like
no,
this.
I'm not being serious, but it was just like he just had a tough match, and I think honestly, Aina being out is got to be a problem for them too, right? They've missed him for the last 2.5 matches now.
Yeah, you see this so often where it's really strong defenses, particularly with teams like Forest this season coming out of nowhere, rely so heavily on continuity and that chemistry. And you take one piece out and it gets really tough to maintain it.
Exactly. There's just not a lot of squad depth there, right? And so these teams, like if they're when they're or like enough like high end squad depth, and so it's like if you lose a couple of the like top parts, you're going to lose. Everything's going to kind of fall apart a little bit. I wouldn't say it's like a house of cards. I mean, there's plenty of good players on Forest, but obviously, like when you're clicking, right? And anyways, they don't even double, so I don't know why I'm going on about that. But Arsenal, Villa, Man City, Palace are the teams that double. So just to go through, let's just like talk about like maybe like some essentials from those 4, right? And I think Palace is probably off the table. I mean, if you probably already have 3 Palace if you're listening to this pod, right? And I wouldn't change anybody and I wouldn't drop anybody, right? You just sort of roll with those 3 and hope that you can get something from them, across both those matches. I mean, the Arsenal away match isn't great, but it's possible they get something from that. I mean, they're still playing pretty well, I think. So they're like a little off the table. It's really more about Arsenal, Man City, and Villa. So we start off with Arsenal. Arsenal are, they're away to Ipswich on Sunday, right? Because it's a day delayed because of the Champions League. So away to Ipswich on Sunday, and then they host Palace on Wednesday. So those are the 2 Arsenal fixtures. And I mean, I guess just to start things off, like, what are your thoughts on Saka at the moment?
I want him to be a fantasy pick because, I think he is what I desire. I desire a little bit of magic in my team.
Give you fuel, give you fire, give you
that
which
which
you
I desire.
exactly. Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly.
And what I'll do with it is, yeah,
That's what you do with it is you can do on your own business. On your own,
it's my
it's
business.
your business. Exactly.
Yeah, what me and Saka do behind
I think
closed
that's
doors.
the second line of that song. Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire, and what I do with it is my own business. It's yeah.
Yeah, it's like a libertarian metal album.
Yeah, it is. James Hetfield. I mean, those guys were. Remember, like they were. When I think Metallica, I have to admit, my first thought is still anti-Napster. That is like the first thing that comes into my head.
The first thing that comes into my head is the documentary called Some Kind of Monster,
Oh yeah, which I've never
and
seen.
it's all
Yeah.
about Lars Ulrich selling his vast art collection.
Oh brother.
That is clearly like it's not clear that he knows even any of the art that he has in his collection. It's an asset. It's just like a
investment
financial asset.
opportunity. Ugh,
And there's
gross.
these guys
Yeah.
at like Sotheby's or Christie's pouring him champagne. Is like, you're about to make a lot of money. Whatever. Like Metallica rocks. Like, their music is cool.
Sure. No, I'm not here to trash Metallica, except on the Napster front. I mean, listen. They were in the end. They were they were kind of proven right, though. Right. I mean,
Okay.
they did. I mean, in the end, stealing everybody's music and not giving them any money did not probably set us on the greatest path in
Sure.
terms
It's
of the
it's like
future
proto
of
AI,
music.
right? Like,
Right.
I work in
Right.
book publishing, and there's a big thing of like people scraping book
Mhm.
text from the internet
Yeah.
and then applying it to machine learning. And it's like, no,
Yep.
that doesn't belong to you. You can't do
Yep.
that.
Yep. But
And
as
that,
somebody who was
uh
my freshman year of college was the end of the Napster era, and
huh.
it was
You moved to
glorious.
LimeWire at that point, right?
Yeah, you had to kind of hunt around.
Uh huh.
The back in the early aughts was an amazing time for musical theft. If you were like
Pirate Bay.
I had no. Well, I mean, I was buying music too, and so I felt a
Yeah.
little less guilty about it. I was just young and less thoughtful, but it was amazing. Like you could just go on like Pirate Bay type sites, and people just you could get whole like these like what were those things called? It was like those
Peer to
little
peer.
yeah, but exactly. But it was like files. It was like, oh, like someone basically be like, oh, I found this guy's like private server
Okay.
where he just
Yeah.
has like hundreds of albums uploaded. He'd be like, oh, that's awesome. With one click, I can download every song that Led
Sure.
Zeppelin ever
But if
published.
you were just like
Just
walking
drag
down
it to
a
your iTunes
if
library.
you're just walking down the street in like a suburban neighborhood and there was a sign from a guy who's like, come into my garage and just like take a look at what I've got going on in here.
Yeah,
It's not, you probably wouldn't go into the garage. I'm feeling.
yeah.
Seems sus. The internet made sus behavior very
That's
like
true, but it was a more
safe.
innocent time. At the time, you were like, "Oh yeah, I can go in here," and
Uh-huh.
and I don't know. So far, it's all been
What
fine.
in
It's been
God's
15
name were
years.
we?
If I clicked on the wrong thing,
Oh, we were talking about
yeah,
Sokka. Okay, yeah.
right,
Fuel
right,
the fire from that we desire.
yeah. And what you do with it at your own time is your own business.
I
Yeah,
guess like I want him to be a thing, but I do not trust him in the immediate. I actually think
yeah,
that he will be maybe a fun asset to consider down the home stretch. I mean, even when Liverpool, Arsenal in game week 36, Liverpool could have won the league by that point.
yep,
That would still be a match that I think Saka would want to play in. And then your final home match of the season against Newcastle, followed by just like a beach Southampton in game week 38. So that's what I think about Saka is just more like maybe the final 3 game weeks of the season as opposed to right now where so much kind of hangs in the
yeah,
balance. And maybe they have more confidence in Saka's fitness a month from now as
yeah,
opposed to like the next week or two.
yeah. I mean, you could get 2 bench appearances from him for sure. I think there's especially if they beat Real Madrid. I should say even if they beat. I think if they lose to Real Madrid, they might just roll out kind of their best squad and try to end on a high note. Or I don't really know. I mean, they'll be in a weird spot at that point, kind of emotionally. But
Well,
if
do you think that they're going to lose 4 goals to Real Madrid this week? Do you think
I
that's
don't.
on
I
the
mean,
table?
sure. I mean, in Madrid, like I think
Mm,
it's very very possible. Yeah. I mean we've seen Madrid do this. Like they pull a rabbit out of the hat in the Champions
hmm
League like every
Don't
other
give him a
year,
rat's
right?
chance.
Yeah, I do. I You and I are just coming at we came at this whole Champions League the whole year from different sides.
Uh,
You also don't you weren't as impressed with Villa's performance at PSG either, and I think the final score makes it seem a lot worse than it
Okay.
was. If they
Okay.
had lost
Did you
that match
watch the
two,
match?
yeah, I watched some of it. I mean, I was working
Uh-huh.
like all Americans. These 3 o'clock on Wednesday games are a bit
Yeah.
tricky, but um, anyway, all right. So I think in general, though, Arsenal. I mean, outside of Saka, I really don't love Trossard as an option. I mean, like they're all just punts. I guess is really
Mhm.
the problem, right? Like they're all there's just not one player, and I think maybe Saka is like worth the punt just because I don't. You could just maybe he just wants to start like he probably has gold bonuses in his contract and stuff, right? There's got like you might just want to like get out there and start playing minutes again, right?
Just being cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Yeah, I mean it's probably not good for him to be like
Yeah.
kept so fresh down the stretch. Like having regular minutes at some point might actually behoove him, right? I mean, he has now gone 3 consecutive matches off the bench, right? So it's not like they've not rushed him back by any means, right?
Yeah.
And so even if he starts playing a little more consistently, I don't think he's going to be exhausted or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
Trossard is somebody who has mostly been getting regular minutes, even with the Champions League, but he's just not a reliable fantasy asset, right? I mean, you could see him getting something away to Ipswich. I mean, I don't hate him as a pick, right? Like if you like you were talking about maybe like divesting yourself, like if you wanted to get rid of one of Murphy or um Alonga, like someone
Mhm.
like Trossard kind of works price wise, would be like an option, right? Like yeah,
I'm honestly a little bit more interested in Martinelli than Trossard. Like
sure.
Martinelli seems like I mean, they're basically on equal footing in this conversation, but
Right.
maybe because I have more good memories having Martinelli in fantasy than I do Trossard, that
Yeah.
I like him he's kind of an interesting punt.
Yeah, I guess Trossard still feels more appealing just because of the positioning and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think, and I also just like I don't know, like Martinelli is just such an injury risk at this point, right? It's like just, I don't trust. I agree with you. Like I've definitely like he's been better for my fantasy team over the years, but I just don't really trust him. This
If you play
yeah,
for Arsenal, you're an injury risk. These are the facts.
that is very true. Still a lot of flags in this
So
squad up and
I
down.
I
Yep.
I agree with your reservations in all these players, which is why I come back to triple Arsenal defense. But then who? Because they started Tierney and Thomas Partey at fullback against
Right.
Brentford.
Right.
Even
Yeah.
still,
Timber got 20 minutes. Yeah.
right? Even still, they were pretty close to holding Brentford to a clean sheet. They remain, regardless of personnel, one of the, if not the best defensive club in the league.
Yep.
So it's sort of like if you can just pick the guy who's going to get the most minutes, and we already have Raya and Saliba, um, who's the third? And I guess it's Quivior, and I hate that. I hate that for my team.
Yeah, I guess it probably is. You're right. I mean, because it does feel like he's most likely going to. I mean,
I
the
might
only
do it.
other option would be if Ben White were to get some more center back minutes, but it does seem like QR is the go to there. So yeah, I mean, honestly, at 4.8, that's reasonable. Like it makes sense. Like he's probably the only one that I feel like I could like confidently like Timber, I think could absolutely just get 1 out of 2 starts, right?
Mhm.
QR is like the only one that has a like much like Saliba, right, who just starts every match. I feel like QR, like he just doesn't rotate his center backs that much, right? And so I think that I think you could see QR and Saliba start both these matches.
Yeah. All right. Well, shout out to the Arsenal defense. It'll be the first time this
Yeah,
season.
and then yeah, I think Odegaard too inconsistent, too expensive. Honestly, is like been coming up the bench a lot as well. I mean, I think I mean it's sort of like him and Saka in the same boat. It's just that Saka's got a higher ceiling, right? Like it's like even if Saka could score a goal in 20 minutes, whereas Odegaard, I feel like kind of need the full 90, right, to
Hmm.
feel like maybe
Hmm.
get something. All right, so Arsenal, Saka, not much else. Man City, tricky. They are using their full squad depth right now, right? We are now seeing 30 to 40 to 47 different players getting minutes for
Hmm.
this
There's a
squad.
reason why their kit numbers go up into the 80s.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So Foden is flagged, but he's kind of worthless anyway, right? I mean,
Very much so.
he hasn't an attacking return since game week 23. But in general, this is effectively like a lost season for him, right? He's
Hmm.
been just I mean, for like a young player, it's like I don't know if he's entering the Marcus Rashford zone or if it's just an off year or what, but it's not good. So then yeah, you have Savinho. It's obviously like you got one goal, but that's but then you got no minutes and 8 minutes after that.
One
So yeah, what
assist.
was it? Was it an assist? Oh right,
Yeah,
so you got an assist and 3 bonus. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, an assist
sure.
and 3 bonus.
It
Yeah,
may as well have been a goal.
yeah,
Just all
nine
things
pointer. Yeah.
considered.
So
I
yeah, where are you with
I
him?
don't I don't want him, but as kind of discussed with my just 2 transfers, it
Yeah,
feels too sideways no matter which way you go
yeah, yep,
to replace him.
yep.
So, if that means I play my bench boost just to see kind of roll the dice, and honestly, it could any game week, and I feel like this is probably the last game week in which I'll be even entertaining the idea of playing Savino in my starting 11. So he proved when he did get that 9 pointer in game week, whenever it was
Yeah,
in game week 30 against Leicester, that just if you hit it right, it's good. So by that rationale, fine. If you have Savinia, don't get rid of him. Try to
yeah.
strike it rich once more with
Just
Beeling.
keep rolling. Yeah, I tend to agree with you there.
And
Yep.
McAtee, while he had a really well taken goal, and
Hmm.
Savino could play either on the left or the right. I feel like Pep was like yelling at McAtee the entire time, the entire match. He was doing like the bad Raheem Sterling impression,
Hmm.
and so I'm not looking at that lineup as good as they were in the second half. City were against Palace. That there's anybody who's like, yeah, well, they have to start every match ahead of Savino at this point.
Yeah. The player that is actually kind of interesting is Kevin De Bruyne, who might be. This is. I don't know. Has he officially confirmed that he's leaving? I'm not sure, but
Yes,
okay,
he posted a goodbye letter
he
to the
did. Okay.
city itself.
So, I mean, is this the time to get him then? Like, this is. I mean, I mean, they do have the FA Cup, but this is kind of like the goodbye run for him right now, right? Like it's sort of this is it. And I feel like I remember David Silva kind of like going out with a little bit of a bang a few years ago as well, like when he left Man City and
Aguero's
it,
final match, it's scored a
yeah,
hatful.
Aguero too. So I mean, Kevin De Bruyne only 9.3, right? So he's basically in that kind of Saka price. He's actually cheaper than Saka. So there's I don't know. What do you think about
I
going
guess
with
I
him?
like him better than Saka, given everything that we've kind of said.
Yeah, I thought he
And yeah,
played pretty well in that Palace
he
match
did.
too.
He was the spark in that
Yep.
match against Palace. He was the one who basically said, "Follow me." He did.
Yep.
He bravehearted it at the end of
Yep.
that first
Yep.
half.
Yep. And it's dangerous because, right, goal and assist, blanks the week before, doesn't play the week before that, gets 4 minutes the week before that, gets 21 minutes before that, 0 minutes before that, right? Like he is a truly like he's a gamble. Like he is a true gamble for 33. But I don't mind it like
Yeah.
to a degree because I just don't love like most of the other options. There isn't a lot of safety, I would say, in this double game week. There aren't
With
like
Kevin
kind
De
of just like
Bruyne,
safe picks.
when people leave their job, there are different kinds of people who leave their jobs. Ones who leave very lengthy, helpful exit documents, and
Hmm.
others who are just like, "Here's my password to my email. Good luck."
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yep.
You get the sense that De Bruyne is a lengthy exit document sort of a guy,
Yeah.
and I think he'll want City to be in the Champions League next
Yeah.
season just to kind of like lock it all up for his colleagues. So
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting shout for the run-in.
I think, by the way, leaving your password is fine. I feel like, those no one really reads those like 9-page exit documents, right? You might go in there looking for a password or something, but I feel like in general, it's like, you just
It
start
depends on how
fresh.
long you've been at the
Uh,
job, right?
yeah, well, and how long it is until your replacement comes in,
Mhm.
right? If it's like if it takes 27 weeks, then I'm not if I'm that replacement, I'm not even looking at that handover doc, right?
It's
It's
been
everything's
27
irrelevant.
weeks.
I don't
Yeah.
know, whatever, right? Like sometimes when you're hiring for jobs like mine, Brandon, it's a half
It's a
year
highly
process.
skilled
Yeah,
job. Yeah, it's
exactly,
true.
exactly. So all right, so that's yes, Man City, I think, and then I think Guardiola is you know I mean, are there any other defender picks that we could consider? I mean, it feels like he's kind of the only one. I guess Ruben as well, but it just doesn't feel like Ruben is as exciting.
No, yeah, Guardiola is way more exciting.
Yeah.
Uh, but Diaz has been playing well, and I think Pep really hit upon something with them as a center back partnership.
Yep.
Nico O'Reilly, he's quite attacking, but I just like he is the new Rico Lewis in that you're like, ooh, maybe Pep seems to like him. He's getting some starts,
Yeah.
but I would not be surprised if we didn't see Nico O'Reilly ever again.
Yeah, Nico O'Reilly is a fun name though. I do like that. It's he started the last three, so I mean, there's yeah. Again, punty. You're in the punt zone with
Hmm.
much like in years past with Man City. It's always tricky down the stretch with them because I mean, it's I guess like the only time it isn't is when they've got something like very tangible to play for in the Premier League and they just have to win every match down the
Yeah,
stretch. But in a year like this, I guess they still do. They are still fighting for a Champions League spot.
yeah, very much so.
Yeah. So I actually think KDB is probably a pretty safe pick. Honestly, I just think that down the stretch he's going to get plenty of minutes, and kind of no reason not to. Right? You're not saving him for next year.
No,
I mean, I don't think Pep's going to
run him into the
run him
ground.
into the ground, but I think KDB probably wants to play. Right? These guys all want to
Yes,
play. Like, yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, he'll want to respect his legacy and leave everyone,
Yep.
with good memories.
So that leaves us with Villa, the other team that double in 33, and so we talked about Martinez a little bit. Defensively, it's been a really outside of him, it's been a really frustrating season, I would say. Right? You have Ezri Konsa, who uh, he's just a really unexciting fantasy asset. Right? He really has no goal threat at all. He
Does he have any attacking returns this season?
one goal. Yeah, he's
Okay.
got one goal in the season, no assists. And yeah, I mean his XG is 0.92 on the season, right? 0.5 XA. Which is like hard to be that low. Like you just like if you like just like send a pass down, sometimes someone's gonna like latch their head on it, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, really nothing there. You kind of need a clean sheet to get anything from him. So he's not very exciting. I mean, just given that given that their fixtures are Newcastle and Man City, it's just hard to see them keeping a clean sheet in either one. It's not impossible, but hard to see. And then so yeah, you're basically left with Rogers. You have Asensio who missed two pens.
Unreal.
Yeah, unreal. I even think on Thursday's pod I was like, if you're a gambling person, like anytime Mark, if you see him in the starting lineup, like anytime goal scorer, you got to do it. And Brendan, I backed it up too. I did go for it. So those double missed pens were really extra painful. I thought
He
especially
put
the
his money
second
where his
one.
mouth is, folks.
I know. I was like, he's still in the pitch. This is amazing. This is great. I'm gonna get the second pen. Like, no way is he gonna miss twice. And then of course, he ended up with 2 points in the one of those shaky like they got a clean sheet and then he got the assist for the goal scored on the rebound.
He got
So
2 points the absolute hardest
he
conceivable
really
way.
did. Yeah, 2 points the hard way for Asensio. But obviously he's a unreliable starter, or has been for a lot of the season. He's awesome in his own
The
way.
story
but
is completely changed with that fantasy wise, with that performance against Southampton, where suddenly it's just like maybe game week 1 next season. We'll see.
Yeah, exactly. Let's give it a little time. You have Yuri Tielemans, who's like the definition of like a steady fantasy asset, right? Plays like every game. Has assists in the last two matches, has 2 goals and 6 assists in the season. So not exciting, but I don't know. Like then of course Morgan Rogers is the key asset there. 8 goals and 8 assists on the year. Attacking returns in his last 3 matches, only 5.6 million. So yep,
He's
lots
the
to like
one.
there.
He's
Yeah.
the one, and I
Yeah.
think he has been cursed by Emery to play every minute for the
Yeah,
rest of his
Finneras
life.
cursed. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. It's true. So, yeah, I think he is. I mean, do you like him more than Saka or KDB?
If I were to rank those three, I might go. It's very close between Rogers and KDB because they fulfill two different purposes. KDB is just the Matthew McConaughey in that episode of True Detective where he goes undercover
Oh
and he
yeah,
takes the drag off of that
yeah.
laced whatever it
Yeah,
is.
whatever it is. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the KDB pick. Morgan Rogers is the Matthew McConaughey doing paperwork at his desk job, sort of a thing.
Right.
And then
Crushing beer
Saka is
cans.
probably
Yeah.
like Mahershala Ali in True Detective season 3, where you're like
Okay.
actually pretty good performance, not a memorable season of True Detective, though.
That's fair. I'm a season one. That was as far as I went.
Yeah.
But I will trust you on that. I'm too busy watching 8 hours of golf. Well,
Sure.
not always, but the Masters was incredible today. Did you? You probably didn't watch any of it, did you? It was really
No,
dramatic.
no. I
So
I I was I got a few updates from the Athletic, and
yeah.
just by listening to as much second captains as I do, is kind of like rooting for Rory there.
Yeah, it was a fun. It was very dramatic in that way that sports can be. You're not like, I mean, he's an amazing player, so it wasn't like, but it was like it had a little bit of college basketball to it, where it was
Uh-huh.
like the amount of mistakes down the stretch were like part of the drama.
How
It
is
was
he
like,
only
yeah,
35? I feel like he has been around for
yeah.
decades.
He was an early bloomer. It's like he
Uh-huh.
went 10 years without winning a major, and then but he's finished like in the top 5 in like 10 since then. So he's just been around
Oh,
for a long time.
yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I think but I think outside of that, I mean, Watkins is the other one that's a little tricky. I think he's probably safe now. Again, it really just depends on what they do in the
How
Champions
is
League.
he safe?
Well, I just think if they lose in the Champions League, they're gonna start him again. Like it's,
So
Mechanics ready
tell me
now.
why. Like he doesn't start ever in the
I
league
mean,
or
he
in the
has. How many starts
Champions
do you have?
League.
How many starts do you have in the season? Like 30. Like, I mean,
Yeah, but
he starts like,
not since Rashford arrived. It's very dicey.
yeah. I mean, he started three. I mean, he started like 11 of the last 13 matches or something like that, right? I mean, and so it's not like he's just like completely out of the squad. And he did get a goal in the Southampton match when he came off the bench too. So I mean, the guy's like a goal poach. I feel like when he comes off the bench, he's kind of a dangerous player too. I mean, I think he'll get a start in at least one of those two. Anyway, somehow I've been in the mode where I'm like advocating for Watkins here. It's more that I'm just advocating for him as a human, because you're so down on him this season.
Yeah.
14 goals and 6 assists, not bad. I mean, it's basically what he does every
But
year.
the issue is like I don't want to push back too hard on this, but the issue is
Yeah,
this is not Ollie Watkins in the aggregate on the season. It has been such a tumultuous season for Watkins. He had to see John Duran off, which he did, and
right.
then it was clear when Rashford came in that Emery was like itching for a reason to not give
Yeah,
Watkins minutes. I mean, just in the last 3 matches in the league, he's tallied up about 100 minutes. That's not great for
yeah.
your star number 9.
I think for a lot of us listening, we have Isak, Marmoush, and Mateta as our front three, and I don't see him being better than any of those front three, right?
No.
So if you had a different play, I don't even really know. I mean, honestly, like certainly you wouldn't drop Isak for him. I don't think that's worth it. Not worth a
No.
transfer.
No.
I mean, the only way I would do it is if I had like 5 frees and I was free hitting in 34. You know what I mean? Like it would need to be a very unique scenario for me to feel like Isak out for Watkins was like a really smart move.
Mhm.
So not, I think most people listening, it would not be the advisable move to make. So those are your 4 the double. And as you noted, Liverpool play away to Leicester. And I think that brings us to the captaincy question, right? Which I think is an unusually difficult week for the
Mhm.
captaincy. You have an out of form Mo Salah away to the one of the worst teams in the Premier League, who have been quite bad. I guess they showed a little bit of fight this weekend, for whatever that's worth, and not much really. I
Nothing.
mean, they still, yeah, exactly. They still
I mean, Brighton are a bit of
conceded
a
2 goals.
ghost team right now, so
Yeah, weirdly on the beach for a team that could be in Europe. It's a weird.
they all know they're all
Yeah,
getting all those Brighton guys know they're gonna be sold for parts at the end of
yeah,
every
that's true. 4
season,
of them
so
have probably already signed their contracts with Tottenham or
yeah.
whatever. So, yeah. So I think it's tricky. You have. Let me actually pull up. Let me go back here and look at the fixtures for this weekend. So, right. So you have Salah that I guess especially given where I am in the league where I'm just sort of having like a not so great season. I don't see any real reason to go with Salah here. I'm just gonna
Marmoush.
roll the dice. So I think Marmoush is a really strong option. And so Marmoush, you'd have him for Everton and Villa for those two
Mhm.
matches. I think that Saka is the like, let's cross our fingers and pray he starts in the Ipswich match option, right?
Mhm.
Because if he does, he's the best option, even if he only gets 25 minutes in the Palace match, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I think that Saka is way up there in a kind of like let's gamble. I'm in the mood to
Uh-huh.
gamble kind of mode. Um, who else would be kind of in the conversation? Is there anybody
Well,
else?
if we, I think we need to stick with the De Bruyne narrative, where if
Right.
you do go so far as to bring him in, then that's a captaincy waiting to
Yep.
happen.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yep. I like that. I think Marmoush is good. I mean, I don't know if we just have to spend any more time in it, but he feels like he's locked into that 11 right now.
Yeah.
He's playing well. Scored again this weekend. It's feels relatively safe. Like pretty high floor, reasonably high ceiling. Like
He's
pretty good
scoring all
pick for a
types of
double.
goals too. He's
Yeah.
cleaning up garbage goals. He's scoring like very well, sort of like position goals. I
Yeah.
like him, and I can see how Pep would be like, yes,
Yeah.
he's like an ideal, a more mobile number 9 than Holland has been.
Yep.
I'm sure Pep is enjoying this.
Um, Saliba, is that like a kind of
Yeah, yeah.
like if they kept
I'm not opposed.
two clean sheets, you'd probably looking at 14 plus points from him. So that's
A little cheeky attacking return from Saliba against Ipswich, and you're on cloud 9 there.
that's true.
That would be a slam dunk captaincy
Any
if that
cloud,
happened.
I'd be in cloud one. It wouldn't even have to be cloud nine. Like
Huh?
just
Yeah,
I'd be in
cloud.
cloud four. Yeah,
Yeah, just
exactly.
the hero of Final Fantasy 7. You're him.
Yeah, I would be. You know what I would be? I'd be in Cloud City is where I would be, and
Sure, yeah.
I'd be busy making a deal that would keep the Empire out of there
Yeah,
forever.
you and Lobot
Um,
just like
yeah,
hanging out, do
yeah,
it, watching streaming TV. Sounds great.
it's good times. Rogers don't feel like the ceiling's high enough to advocate for him. Um, Crystal Palace. I mean, I don't know. Mateta getting pulled in the at halftime makes me a little worried. Not that I think there's any like big issue there, but it's just like
Uh,
it's a little like like do I want to go with this guy for a double? I mean, away to Arsenal is
Yeah.
obviously a pretty bad fixture too.
And there's not enough clarity on what's going on there. Like, I think typically you would look at Palace and Glasner, and if they have to change up the tactics at halftime, if Mateta is fully fit, they
Yeah,
probably tweak it in a slightly different way.
yeah. So I think Sar is somebody
Didn't
who
work either, by the way.
no, it did not work. It got much worse, in fact. They because what was it like 2-1 at half? Or I don't even know. It felt like it
It was tied 2
was
to 2,
tied.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, there must have been some kind of issue there. I don't. I mean, who knows? What I don't know. So I'm not a big enough Palace supporter to know what happened there.
Let's see. I'm just going to premierinjuries.com to see if Dinnery's got anything on it here. Let's
Yeah,
see. Palace, Crystal Palace. Nothing on
yeah.
Mateta.
Like you
So,
said, he was on the bench, so
mhm,
I don't know. Who knows, right? Like maybe there was something Glasner saw that made him want to do
mhm,
it. I think that yeah, I think that's where I guess I would sort of if I were ranking these, I think I am going to put Saka at the top and just hope he gets a start. And if you get end up with two sub appearances, that just seems like kind of rough luck. But I think that wow, gosh, him or Marmoush, maybe I'm a little on the fence between those two. I think that those are both maybe those would be my top two. KDB third, Saliba fourth. I don't know. That would be like my rough
I
ranking of
do think you've got to
players.
put Salah in there somewhere. And
Sure,
like,
that's fair. That's
if
fair.
you were like ranked 50K overall in the world and you were kind of
Yeah,
looking to stabilize, now I think you're like truly in Salah captaincy territory despite the double game week, because
his
even
floor is
though,
so high, right?
yeah, it really
Yeah,
is like easy 10 pointer,
yeah,
perhaps, not
yeah.
guaranteed.
That's true. Like it's like one of those like for me, it's like it's a double game week. I'm not doing that great. I'm
Sure.
gonna have some fun and see if I
I
can
get
just
that.
like get some crazy return. But yeah, I think you're right. If you're top of your league, you could do a lot worse than the kind of
Yeah.
floor. I mean, it can be dangerous though to be too defensive though as well, right? Like
Uh-huh.
we sometimes we see these double game weeks where everyone's in the hundreds and solid blanks. I mean, you're not getting him in peak form,
Yeah.
unfortunately, right? But I mean, Leicester are atrocious. So it's
Yeah.
yeah,
I thought he was okay. Like
yeah,
for the
he's
first,
okay.
when
Yeah,
Liverpool were like great, or the first 20 minutes of the who are they even playing today? or yesterday. What was the match for Liverpool? Why am I blanking on
Oh,
this?
they were playing. Was it West Ham?
Oh, West Ham, yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought they just like lit them up in the first 20
Yeah,
minutes and then totally fell away. And it was interesting when they fell away, Salah's involvement totally fell away too. So that's
yeah,
kind of the concern is you got like these small windows of opportunity, seemingly though in every match. And when
yeah,
you got Leicester 20 minutes against Leicester with Salah with the ball at his
yeah.
feet, pretty good.
It's a hard week. I think it's a good hard, like it's a tricky
Hmm.
hard, but it's a good one. So I talked earlier about my transfers where I'm leaning, still leaning towards Gvardiol and Saka. Uh, may give KDB another look though. Need to think that one through a little bit longer. We can talk more about that on the Patreon pod on Thursday. By the way, just a very quick shout out. We got some new Patreon supporters. We put out the call
Oh,
last week.
oh.
Yeah. So Oystein Reindigen, BP, and Monkey Stador.
Hmm.
Thank you to our newest Patreon supporters.
Nice.
And I didn't do any housekeeping earlier, so thanks to the FPL Press Play Pod for having us on too, Brandon. That was or
Hmm.
having me on, I should say. That was a good pod. Definitely go and seek those guys out. Very
Hmm.
fun,
Yeah,
cheerful
great
pod.
show.
And then yeah, quick hat tip to Mark Southerns as well, who is
Hmm.
saying goodbye to Black Box, but much loved figure in the FPL community. Certainly much loved between you and me, right? We're both big fans of his. So
Yeah, and it
yeah,
sounds like he's going on to do some things with the FPL
yeah,
game itself, which I think is encouraging. So,
yep,
it's like people who just have eternal grievances with referee decisions, and
hmm,
then you get to go actually be a part of the referee organization. So,
yeah,
FPL content creators constantly like bemoaning decisions that FPL, the game itself, makes, and Mark gets to take our perspective to the
yep,
game. So I'm
yep.
very excited to see what happens there.
Yeah, me too. So that is kind of where we are, Brent. I feel like we really, we didn't do any recap this time. We just dove right into 33,
Hmm.
but I think we kind of covered all the basics there. I mean, there are lots of matches this weekend, of course, but I think it's really all about trying to maximize those double game weeks. I think that this is just not the week where I would be trying to find a blank game weeker that fit. Even Liverpool away to Leicester, I don't know. Like Leicester have nothing to lose now, and so you could see them maybe nicking a goal. I mean, I don't know. Just in general, the defenders are just so. It's been such a frustrating season for defenders, and this week sort of typified it, right? I mean, I don't know how
Hmm.
many teams lost their clean sheet in the 85th minute or later. It was
Hmm.
certainly a handful, though. Liverpool did. Although Liverpool kind of worked out well because Bradley had been subbed and Van Dijk scored, so it was like we
Yeah.
might have been okay. But yeah, did you have one thing you wanted to add? Sorry, or
Did
both
I?
it.
Oh,
I don't
no.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. I was just like, I always have something at the ready to insert stream of consciousness if
Okay.
needed,
Yeah. Fair enough.
and
Yeah.
in each one of them, the moment has passed.
Okay. Fair enough. So that's where we are. Any final thoughts on 33, Brandon?
Um, I want some points. That's my
Hmm.
final thoughts.
Yeah.
I want the new leads. I'm feeling very
Yeah.
much like Jack Lemon
Glengarry. Yeah, I'm gonna
in
go see
Glen.
that. I'm gonna go see the new Glengarry Glen Ross on
Awesome. I'm
Broadway.
so
Yeah.
jealous. I'm so
Yeah.
jealous. Yeah, but
Be
I
fun.
feel his POV right now. Just like give
Yeah.
me the new FPL leads. I've got to get some
Yeah.
sales.
Yeah, exactly. The whatever it's called, the file or whatever.
Mhm,
There's like
mhm.
the Glen, is it the Glengarry leads? Is that what it is? Or
It's the
whatever. It's
leads they're always
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about, right? Maybe it is comes in a file or a dossier or something. I don't
Something like
remember.
that. Yeah. It's
Uh-huh.
like a new house, whatever, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And by the way, I just can't remember. Did you talk about what your planned transfers are for
So
this
my
week?
my plans, I have 2 frees, I have 8 double game weekers right now, and I what it's looking right like is Gabrielle to Quivior
Hmm.
and then Murphy to Rogers, and I bench boost, God help me.
Hmm. And then you most likely free hit in 34. Hmm.
Yes, regardless, I'm free hitting in 34. I
Okay.
think that's
Yep.
just kind of I haven't even really examined what the free hit team looks like in 34. I just know there's no real meaningful way. If there was a meaningful way for me to swerve it and not free hit, what would
There's
I be saving the free hit for is
it
the thing.
doesn't really make a lot of
Hmm.
sense.
Yeah.
I think I mean, even me as I don't have a free hit, I've been trying to navigate there's nobody that doubles in 33 and plays in 34, right?
Yeah.
So every doubler that you get in is one fewer player you're going to have,
Yeah.
which makes it really tricky, I think.
Yep.
So, all right, so that's where we are. Good luck to everybody this weekend, and again, thank you to all our Patreon supporters. If you want to support the podcast, you can go to patreon.com/always cheating. So nice to get some new Patreon supporters this late in the season. And really, as you might imagine, really drops off at the end of the year. And so people who've been listening to the podcast or just wanted to say thank you or whatever, it's really nice to get those notices. So thank you again. Patreon.com/always cheating is where you can go. Brendan, do you want to thank our producer patrons?
Big thanks, as always, to Mike DePietro, Trevor Ingerson, Dave Wagner-Luddle, our buddy Chris Howell, Andy Penn, Nick Wright, Lazarus Llanos, Jesse Halstead, Brian Shin, Bobbas Kuhn, Blair Jacobson, Todd Byerly, Andy Portlock, Dan Parsons, Terrence O'Donnell, Kerry Swanson, Jefferson Turner, as he does it, Francis Moore, Sam Shower, Craig Jackson, Caleb Robbie, Brian Clark, Thomas Tislov, Fred Jacobson, Gareth H., Shalin F. Kadakia, Rishi Nigam, Noah and Louise, Travis Grant, Linus Vennerstrom, Matthew Skinner, Ben Coombs, Eric Kite, Rune Sandberg, the three Jims, James and Murray Wood, James C. and James Holland. James Holland, the Ipswich fan, I dare say, after dropping 3 points 2 game weeks in a row. I guess they did pick up 1 point against Chelsea, but I'm sorry.
It feels like 2 points lost.
A lifetime ban for Ipswich at this point.
Yeah.
And Scully, Craig at Total Math Tutoring, and Francis Mann. Rate, review, subscribe, and follow wherever it is that you do those things. Website is alwayscheating.com.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. Good luck in game week. Well, the rest of game week 32, still got 2 matches to go. And then good luck in game week 33. We'll be back on Thursday with a podcast for our Patreon supporters. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Nice and easy, simple.
Simple pie.
Been banging these things out an hour, but there's been sort of straightforward.
There's